everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, No More Secrets. As always, I'm your niece, Katie Albrecht.
And I'm your aunt, Mary Albrecht. And today we have a guest that is joining us in the podcast room. His name is Herbie.
He's black and white.
So he's neither white nor black.
Hair
he's
all
both.
over.
Let me see if I can get him.
And he's right here.
Okay, so this is my dad's cat. And he's been living with my brother, but my brother is in the hospital. He just had major open heart surgery because we never do anything easy in the Albrecht house. We always like to have tragedy. And so we got another one
We
now.
really enjoy it.
We really enjoy it. But I just feel bad because Herbie's a real people cat. And so I brought him to my studio, and the other two cats are in the back room, perfectly happy to be away from Herbie. Isn't he cute?
He's pretty cute. But I guess we
actually do have
the elephant in the room.
And we do actually have a biped, not a quadruped guest, Travis, who's back
big words,
to join us. And what I think is nice, well, first of all, Travis is one of our producers and backers and all of that, and a Patreon supporter. But what I think is nice is that...
Okay, bye.
Okay, so on the... okay, bye. That's a cat for you. On the heels of our episode last week about change, I think what Travis has undergone is kind of a big lifestyle change. And what I think is neat about our podcast is that you said that it would be nice to talk about it on it because it could help other people. And that's like bingo. That's what we do. And so he's going to share with you guys about basically stopping full-time work and becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I feel like in the last year or so, a lot of people have gone through this sort of thing, and most people don't have the outlet like this that we have to talk about it and kind of go over the nuances of what you're feeling. Usually have to pay for professional help like that, so
we've been told that before. You can
We're
pay
good,
on
cheap
Patreon. We're good at it. But why don't you share with the viewers and listeners like what led to you becoming a freelance entrepreneur as opposed to a full-time employee?
Yeah, so not too long ago, things happened at my previous employer that took a turn for the worse. Just they were keeping people employed just to have people employed and get government loans and subsidies.
Because of the pandemic, you mean?
Yeah, so they were definitely taking advantage.
Wow.
Of the system, which, fine. It's still legal, whatever they're doing. But the thing was, it got to a point where it just wasn't a satisfying thing anymore. Like, I was just going in to sit and keep his seat warm.
Okay.
Where I could have definitely been doing other things that were, more substantial. Because, I don't know. It just didn't seem like I was doing anything, even though I was going in every day.
Which previously it was like you guys, we won't say what it is, but you guys put on a lot of big events, and it was kind of like was it exciting before this whole thing happened? Or
yeah, because it's advertising. But when you're in the middle of a pandemic with no events going on, what the heck are you going to advertise? Nothing,
right.
So I did bring up to them, because I'm pretty forward when I'm in my jobs. I'm pretty forward about what I want. And most employers are pretty understanding of it. I've never had an employer react the way they did in this situation. But it got to a point where I knew I was just there doing nothing every day. And it just kept building up until one day they just blew up on me and canned me. So, but...
Whoa, wait.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you mean blew up at you?
So, yeah, the nice thing about living in the state I do, it's a one-party state. So once it got to a point at my job where things started seeming weird and they started saying things behind closed doors or even wide open, they were just saying things blatantly that just didn't seem right. I started recording with my watch. I started recording conversations because I knew they were going to slip up at some point. And the day I got fired, I recorded the entire interaction, which I'm happy to share. We can put it up on Patreon for people to listen to. It's the literal definition of insane. Like the arguments they were making. So what happened to lead up to this?
Right.
I took vacation because the year prior, I agreed to forego any vacation because they gave us 3 months off, which the whole world got off from March to whenever. Everyone's going through the same thing. They said, "Are you cool with us foregoing the vacation for the rest of this year,
for
which
2020.
is 2020,
right?
Knowing that we gave you those 3 months off?" I was like, "That's completely understandable. As a small business owner myself, I totally understand where you're coming from. I mean, I didn't do anything for those 3 months, and they knew that. Everything was on the table. It's not like we were hiding anything. Like, there's nothing to be done. There was no work."
Right.
But the next year, 2021, I decided to take some vacation because I was doing renovations in my house. The housing market was going through some crazy stuff, and I wanted to refinance, so I had a lot of work to do. I had to get floors put in, and I had to do a bunch of housework just to get it to a point where it would be a good valuation of my home. And in those 2 weeks, apparently, I got the verbal approval that from the owner of the company, like, yeah, you can take off, totally get it. It'll be paid time off. He confirmed multiple times it was paid time off. I'm like, great. Okay, as long as we're under.
Did he confirm in writing?
Not in writing, no. Yep.
So
and I didn't
verbal.
record it. So, but I mean, if you don't know anything about contracts, a verbal contract is still a contract. There was consideration, there was an offer, and there was acceptance. That's a contract.
Oh, it is still a contract? Is that a state-by-state thing, or is that...
I mean, in general, that's what a contract is. As long as there's consideration, there's an offer of money or something. And that's why you see a lot of people, like, when there's, like, a contract involved, some people offer $1. As long as there's monetary value involved, it's still a contract. And then there's acceptance. So that all happened. It was a contract.
Okay.
So even if it was verbal, like, I still... like, as long as the truth was true and I would be telling the truth, it still would have been fine. And I think they knew that too. That's why it didn't work out for them very well.
And I think of myself as an employee as well. And I feel like if my boss told me that it was okay to take off, then I would take it as, okay, it's okay to take off. If they said it was going to be paid, then I would assume that it was going to be paid. Because like, that's how ethical people do it.
That's how it should be.
And there's something, just going off what I learned in school, business school, we went over contracts a lot because that's an important part of business. That's even called a quasi-contract because I changed something in my life, and them telling me that at some point they told me that I didn't get vacation because of what happened in the pandemic. They basically said, you got 3 months off in 2020. You don't get vacation anymore. I'm like,
anymore ever? So that's what happened, is that they wouldn't pay you for it?
Yeah, they basically said, so I got my paycheck for that week.
Okay.
And it was half of what I was supposed to get. I'm like, what is this? And they have one of their family members doing the accounting and payroll and stuff because...
it's a family business.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely not qualified for it, obviously. When I took my check and went to her office, I'm like, I think there's a mistake. And she, like, blatantly is like, no, there's no mistake. And she's like, you don't get time off after getting 3 months off during a pandemic. And I'm just like, I actually...
like, that wasn't my choice.
Yeah, I was like, that was the entire fucking world. What are you talking about?
And
like,
it was a year ago.
Yeah, and then that's not vacation. That's me having no choice. But, like, why would we even come in to sit on our ass doing nothing, even though that's what we were doing at that moment? But
yeah.
But you agreed not to have vacation time
for that
in
year.
2020.
For that year.
Right. So now they're saying it's going to go on, what, for how long? Like 10 years to make up for the 3 months? Like, that doesn't make sense.
It didn't make any sense to me. And then immediately after that, I went to the owner's office. And I'm like, I was told this by your family member who does our payroll. And what are you saying? And he's like, and he confirmed, like, no, you get vacation.
Oh.
I was like, I get paid vacation. He's like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
Seems like there's a disconnect.
You're not talking. Yeah, it's a husband-wife business, and the wife is like completely involved in just making.
But she's not like the actual owner. Is that right?
She's a half owner, but she doesn't. I don't know what she does. Honestly,
doesn't
She's not
get it.
super stable either, I don't think.
No, and you can hear that in that recording.
Right.
So at some point, so that was the day before I got fired. The next day, I got pulled into their office, and they were definitely scheming the entire night on what they were doing. They had I got pulled into the office and was sat down. He had a letter drafted already from his lawyer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they were basically trying to set up set up insubordination. They're trying to claim insubordination
Because you stood up for yourself?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Well, okay.
To those people, that's insubordination.
That's what makes sense. Yep. You're supposed to be a yes man.
And yeah, they were scheming this, but the thing is, like, the thing that saved me is like there was no previous record of this. It was only on that day that they were like, you're being insubordinate. They came up with this thing that, like, I'm not training other employees on how to do my job.
Oh my gosh.
And if you listen to the recording, I stood up for myself, and it was all true. That's why it was so easy to do, because it was 100% the truth, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, it's really easy to speak truth and, like, catch people in bullshit like that. Mm-hmm. But it ended up being like a 20-minute conversation, and I just kept poking holes in every single thing they were saying.
Calmly. It's a really neat recording because he played it for us, and you were so calm, and you stuck to it, man.
And I practiced this on the way, like, drives back and forth, because
and you were kind of thinking about it for months, like you knew this was coming.
Yeah,
you just probably not in this way, but you knew that there was going to be some sort of moment where everything kind of comes out.
Well, at some point, like, you get to know people very well and know how they're going to react to things. And I'm like, okay, if they do this, I'll say this. Like, I was actually going through, like, every single situation and argument they would bring up. But again, it was really easy to poke holes in it because it was just the truth. Like, I gave them chances for me to leave to work as, like, a freelancer so they can save money. I said, I'll save you, like, so much money a month because I won't be in the office, and you only have to tap me to do work when there's actual work involved.
Yeah.
Which I think is a fair thing.
Yeah, as a small business owner myself, I get where they're coming from. They're taking money out of their own pocket, and they're
right. Overhead costs is a lot.
Yeah, like keeping employees. But the thing is, like, it didn't really cost them much because they were getting government loans.
Well, right. That was the whole reason that they were keeping you on, is to get more money.
I think that's what they were doing. Keeping you have to have a certain amount of people employed in that time period. And I
think it was was it like a 50-person company or something? Or it was like max 50 or something like that?
Something like, well, it's smaller than that. Oh. So there was something involved. I don't know the actual logistics of it.
Mary's pointing to the cat.
Sorry, I mean, I worry about my cats.
He's fine. He was cleaning himself. He's in a good mood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he's comfortable now.
Yeah, he's just inquisitive.
What's up, dude?
Okay. So yeah, I think it's like, I thought it was, I know, but cats always trump. I hate that word, but they do, surpass other
anything
conversations
else going on.
Right.
Yeah. Same with my dog. Like, she gets the attention.
Okay.
So, but I think it's like between 10 and 50 employees. It's supposed to be like a minimum of 10 in order to get subsidized. So how many employees did they have there?
It was a lot less than that. It was a small team.
It might be different than in Wisconsin too.
But I think they still had some sort of requirement they had to meet, because as soon as they canned me, they hired people to replace me immediately.
Even though there wasn't work.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
anyway, this recording was amazing.
Yeah. So basically what happens if you listen to the recording, I'm having this conversation with the owner, poking holes in their arguments that I wasn't insubordinate. I'm not a trainer. I don't do that. Like, I'm good at what I'm good at, and that's placing advertisements, and you have nothing to advertise. So what am I supposed to do?
What are you supposed to train?
Yeah. And I told him, I was like, it's pretty blatant on what you're doing. You're trying to replace me and have me pass off my years of experience and knowledge in less than a couple weeks so that you can have someone else do my job and get rid of me after that.
Somebody cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what they do. They hired somebody straight out of college to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. But at some point, the wife bursts in and just explodes, and that was just the icing on the cake. That was like exactly what I needed in that recording.
Hysterical.
Had she done that before?
She's like that.
Like, you've heard that around the office and stuff?
She's been not in the right mindset on a lot of issues. She takes, like, politics very personally. There was a point where one of the employees said something about, like, he saw, because they have TVs in their offices and they play Fox constantly.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's just always Fox News. And then one of the employees was in her office and said, "Oh man, I hope I hope he dies, like, and Trump was on the screen, and she just exploded on. She's like, I hope you fucking die, and just screams at him, and everyone in the office heard it, and it was just so uncomfortable and weird.
And that's the boss.
Yeah, and that's one of the owners
Whoa.
talking to their employee
That way.
Yeah.
And she has a right to say that kind of thing, but the boss screaming at the employee does not.
That's not even the worst part. After that, the other owner, which is the husband, brought everyone in that wasn't even involved in that situation to say, keep your mouth shut, you work for us, and your opinions don't matter. And these are employees that have been there for like 20-something years. And that was the moment that I was like, I am recording everything that happens in here. Like,
wow, dictatorship.
Yeah. I was like, if you're not going to be loyal to people that have been here for 20 years, there's no loyalty. There's literally, like, you're using us. That's it.
Yep.
So I learned pretty early in my career that, like, don't do companies any favors because they won't do you any, you know.
It used to be that they did, but it's not that way anymore.
There's some out there that, like, they're really hard to find and they keep their employees tight to the chest, and you know, so they're still out there, but this was not one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she burst in and went ballistic crazy on recording.
Yep.
And you're saying that you were recording it, but they didn't know, but that's okay in Wisconsin.
So yeah, in Wisconsin, it's a one-party state, and
explain that.
So it's pretty interesting. It's worded very specific. So at least as long as one of the parties being recorded knows they're being recorded, and the reason why it's worded like that is so that someone externally can't record two people having a private conversation.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Meaning you guys are conversing and you know that this is being recorded.
Yes. As long as I know I'm recording it, the other person doesn't have to know. It's such a weird, but if someone is like,
interesting technicality, yeah.
Yeah. If there's two people in like a bathroom having a conversation and someone outside the bathroom is recording them, that's illegal. That's why one of those two parties having the conversation has to know.
But certain states aren't one party?
Some states are
two-party where they both need to know.
Yeah, I think like California is one of them. There's some out there that are like that, but
because like sometimes when you're on like an 800 call and they're like, "This is a recorded line. Is that okay?" Like they need you to say that. Yep. So that must be a two-party state that you're talking about.
There might be loopholes with like customer service.
But even if you didn't do it like legally, like I think recording is just useful for yourself. So that you know, like, okay, this person, you can look back and be like, this person literally screamed at all of us, and me particularly got right in my face and did this, and it helps you, like, know for your own sanity. You know what I mean? It's
also good because if it ever led to a lawsuit, I was in the right, you know?
Yeah.
So. In that state. But let's say that it wasn't legal to do it, but at least you knew that
I could still use it as like a part of my argument if I had to submit it, which I did submit to like the workforce. Department of Workforce and Labor.
Okay.
Like I could still submit it to that and use it in my case of like I didn't get what I deserved. I need, and here's the recording that proves everything that happened, which I think it did help me in my case. But
so what happened then? So you walked out, or what?
Yeah, at some
point. Did you tell them you had recorded it?
No, not at that moment. No,
okay.
They didn't find out until like I did have it on like social media and stuff because I was just like, fuck it, like. I don't care at this point. Like they deserve to, but I did take it down. But they found out
afterwards?
After they saw it on like TikTok and stuff.
They saw it on TikTok?
Yeah, I saw the owner, like the crazy owner started following me. I'm like, block. Yeah, immediately. I'm like, I'm not dealing with your shit, but yeah, you're out there. That's when they found out, and I did get a letter written to me saying stuff about defamation, which is not true because it's an actual word for word recording. It's not defamation. I'm not like.
It's not lying. Like you were. And I don't think you even said the name of the place.
No,
right?
No. I mean, the people's names are mentioned in it, but that
could be anyone.
Yeah, especially like with their names are pretty common. So
and you never even raised your voice or said, you were just stating facts.
Well, when I left, and that's in the letter too. When I left, I was like, fuck you, so and so, fuck you, right down the hallway. I was just like, oh, okay, this is it.
Sometimes you just. I don't think I heard that part, but
yeah, it was right at the end.
Sometimes your emotion just takes you to that point where you're like, you know what, fuck you all. I hate you all.
Who doesn't want to say that when they get fired from a shitty place, you know?
Most people don't and wish they did. So
yeah, so I just at that point I didn't care. I had.
So then the case you were trying to make was to get unemployment, right?
Yep.
Because they were trying to prevent that from happening and make it seem like you quit or that you deserved to be fired or something, or
the whole conversation started with he was like, I heard you want to quit, so I'm accepting your resignation. And I was like, nope, I did not quit. I was like, nope.
On the recording.
Like, even if you heard me
No.
say that I wanted to quit, I'm telling you, I did not give you a formal resignation like I did for every other job that I've ever had.
Oh,
so
very
I was like,
good.
And I was like, you have to fire me if you want to see me leave. And the point that
All on recording. Yep.
the point that like I was fired was when she burst in. She's like, you get the fuck out of here. And I'm like,
Okay, thank you.
Yep. but the point that I did leave was when he like put his hands on the desk and got over me. He's like, let me tell you something. And like, I felt intimidated at that point. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this. I don't feel safe. I'm leaving that room.
That is scary.
Yeah. Because
Especially
you don't know how, if someone's going to burst in like that, you don't know how people are going to actually.
When people are in that state of mind, you don't know how they're
Was it
gonna
just
act.
you and the husband and wife?
Yeah.
First the
but
husband.
the door was wide open and the entire office heard it.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
people knew exactly what was going on. So it was a pretty crazy situation. But
So then what?
Oh, how are you friends with any of your coworkers there, or
No.
did they all leave at this point?
no, they're still there.
They're still there. Okay.
Yeah.
But they overheard this altercation and then didn't. They just kept
I mean,
working.
they said they backed me. They said they backed me. Somebody blabbed to them about me posting on social media because it was on a private group on Facebook that nobody has access to other than a couple of those employees. And I'm like, okay, one of you is a narc.
Backstab.
It's a narc, yeah.
Yeah, I'm never gonna go back. I'm not welcome there ever again. I'm never gonna go back there again. Never gonna give them any business. I'm gonna tell everyone to just avoid that place like a plague because it's just bad people, just bad.
How many years were you there?
2 years.
I have to burp.
Go for
Excuse
it.
me. Oh, it didn't. It went
should
away.
do it right in the mic.
It went away.
You should do it right in the mic.
That was the first time you haven't done it in the mic, actually.
It was, Travis is here.
Well,
And
if I got
and
a burp,
her-
I'm going right in the mic.
And
Because it's a
Herbie.
guest. you gotta play to the guest, right?
So anyway, so then you went to. Your goal was to get unemployment because they fired you. Get the hell out of here.
Yep.
That's pretty bold right there.
Yep.
Pretty clear.
And it went through all the like adjunction. People had to investigate the situation. Actually, the day I got a call from the unemployment office was the day I was picking up my final check from his lawyer. Yeah, it was in the lawyer's office that I got the call, which is super like coincidental.
You had to go to the lawyer to get.
Yeah,
your
they were trying to intimidate.
Oh, were they? So the lawyer said some stuff like, "Oh,
He gave me a letter with the check, and I started reading. I took my dad with me just
Was
in
that
case
the
anything happened.
defamation letter or no?
Yeah, and it said like
Oh.
you did this, you swore at them on the way out. I'm like, okay, boohoo, a bunch of pansy
did you
asses.
guys.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I
This
hurt
isn't
your
a one-way
fifis.
street. Yeah.
Your fifis.
I'm so sorry
I heard
that
your
I
fifis.
said fuck
Feelings?
you. Yeah, yep, fifis.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's funny.
Yeah, and it said other stuff about posting on social media, which I had every right to. Like,
And then
doesn't really matter. I took it down anyway because I
you
was
can't
just like,
defame someone when it's them. They're the ones that are acting a
Yeah.
certain way. Like you're not the one defaming them. You're just showing how they are. You
yeah,
know?
it was
It's
as long as I
factual.
didn't
Because
alter.
isn't defaming like false
Yes.
or whatever
Yeah, like
information?
sabotage, slander, that kind of thing.
It's similar to that kind of stuff where.
And I think the burden of proof to prove that it's not right is on them or some. I don't know exactly how it works, but it
Right.
wasn't defamation because I didn't alter the audio. It was exactly how they said it.
Right.
Which is like it's funny that you're claiming defamation because that tells me that you're not happy with what the words that you said. Like you're embarrassed by it.
Really? Because they're
people
trying to
to air out
project
their
it onto
dirty
you.
laundry.
You mean?
I mean, why else? If they actually believed in what they were saying, why would they claim as defamation?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
okay. Good point. Yep.
Like if you actually believe in what you're saying, you stick behind that and be like, no, fuck you. Like I meant what I said. But
Yeah,
like if they're
that's-
claiming that all that was not true, like
They just didn't
come
want
on.
it to be public.
Obviously,
Yeah.
what you said. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So
It's
behind
like,
the closed
yeah,
doors,
Yeah.
they said what they said, probably not meaning it or whatever. So
Oh, Herbie did a flop.
I just had to.
just relax now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. Big cuddles.
He's one of the best cats in the world.
yeah.
Just so you know, and that's saying a lot for me.
He's a cat person. But yeah, just to give like people a picture, this audio.
There was the burp. Sorry.
I didn't hear it at
Conveniently,
all.
when I was talking again.
Just wait until I get one. I'm gonna.
Let her
That's what I'm saying. You talk about it more, like you announce it more than you actually like make the sound.
Yeah. Come on, put
She
some
was
power
going to
behind it.
bring a good point up, and there I am.
Yep.
Oh, look at me!
Yeah.
I burped. I didn't mean to do that.
Point has,
Hey, your point.
the point is now gone. I have no idea what I was gonna say. The recording. So we listened to it and it was very strong. Like it was. He's not exaggerating when we say that it was like this. These people were screaming at the top of their lungs, like
Psychomaniac.
guttural
Psycho.
screams at you. Yeah,
Just
like, this
a
was
crazy, like, psycho bitch.
So
I mean,
it's
just-
worth subscribing to Patreon to check that shit out.
because you don't get to hear it unless you do.
Yeah. Yep. It'll be just on
$5 a
Patreon.
month, people. Come on.
It'll be worth it though, because like it's just blows your mind to know that people out there exist.
You know, and we talked about that because when we played Ken's recording of that night that you busted him, you know, ordering street drugs,
yeah.
people can't believe it when they actually hear it. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't even duplicate this. Oh yeah, I can. Da, da, da. And then they hear it.
Or it seems like it's fake. Like there's no way this is real. But
How
it's
could
like,
that
yeah, it
be
is.
so much evil?
We don't
in a
even
person?
think it's real, and we lived it.
Yeah.
Like I can't even.
When you
believe.
listen to it, you just go, whoa, that's like, what kind of
We-
evil monster
Surreal.
is that? So
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
how normal people are. Yeah, like just to get to that volume, to lose control over yourself that much, or
And-
maybe it is controlled. Some people are, they like chaos. They like to control their.
well, and what's interesting
Chaos.
is that they were at their workplace. They were at their business. They are the owners. I mean, your dad was the day after Grandma's funeral in his home.
in its home.
But yet, it was still kind of the same level of crazy, if you
it
ask
was.
me.
It was very similar. from what I-
Obsessive
Yeah.
and random and escalated.
And it seemed like
and
they were
loud.
just saying things to hurt. You
Yep.
know.
Yep.
It's like you don't really feel this way, but
Anyway, so then you did end up winning, quote unquote, or getting unemployment, right?
yeah. I got the letter that said there was no insubordination and that I was fired
And that was from who?
from the workforce development or unemployment office or
Got
whatever.
it.
So,
Oh wait, no, that's Illinois. Never mind. I was gonna say IDES or whatever.
but that's going to lead to talking about just being unemployed in general, which is
Right.
this is the first time I've ever been unemployed for so long.
And that's what kind of started you talking, because you're like, you didn't really realize how different it would be and maybe how hard it would be.
Well, listening to your last podcast about accepting change, like I thought, like in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, this is great. Like I'll be able to do what I need to do. And at first, there's like this honeymoon period where
Right.
like
Freedom.
where the gates were open, like I could do whatever I want. I was going to coffee shops to do like my self-employment business stuff. But at some point, like it took its toll, which is pretty interesting.
In what way?
When you don't have that paycheck coming in every 2 weeks, that you know it's going to be the same amount every time, it like that stability, that loss of stability, like just for some reason just breaks you down. Like if you don't put in the work, if you don't do what you need to do to survive, you could fall under, which a lot of people like going through poverty experience that every day, you know, like if they don't do what they need to do, they could, lose everything, which that started creeping up on me for
I
sure.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've always had a steady paycheck as an adult.
Yep.
Or maybe even as a teenager. Like, did you work through high school and stuff and
Yeah.
college? And
Yep. And that was just more for play money, but this was like I need money to, feed my dog. I need money to keep my house, which I just refinanced. Like,
But then you were saying that you kind of overcompensated it a little bit. Like you tried to take on more than you could.
I tried doing as much
handle.
as I could to get some sort of income back into like the business side of things, but
Yeah.
into your own business, which is
Yeah.
Impulse Productions, which
Yeah.
produces us, which is
it's like video
fantastic.
photography, marketing,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah, and so, but you were taking on too much then, you think?
Yeah, I was like trying to load myself with enough work that I knew I'd be fine, but then it ended up being too much.
Too
And-
scattered?
Kind of overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about like the nature of what I do is you're working with multiple like businesses, and you're kind of just you're tearing your attention up 13 different ways. It's like you're doing 13 different jobs at once. And I started not to produce the quality of work that I'm used to. Like I'm really good at what I do, but when I'm stretched so thin, it just like tore at me because I knew I just wasn't producing quality work.
Didn't you say that, and I related to this too, that when you have like a lot on your plate, instead of like doing the things, it was just easier to kind of shut down almost?
Yes. Yep.
Where you feel like you're like, okay, there's a lot of things I should be doing, but therefore I'm not going to do it because I'm like overwhelmed.
Yeah, if you know anything about anxiety and ADHD, that's a very common symptom of that.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, either you're hyper focused on something and you can like kill it and do such a great job at it, or you just shut down and like you have a hard time reprioritizing your day or your week.
Interesting.
Like I know I need to do this, but this seems more important, but this is still important. It's like you're torn between the two and you just can't.
So then neither of it gets done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's like the most, that's so relatable. Yeah.
Are you ADD?
I'm finding slowly that I'm definitely some sort of ADHD. I don't know how severe it is.
And
it's
anxiety?
Self-diagnosed. I've never gotten actual diagnosis, but just talking through these problems is really important because you find from a lot of people that like are diagnosed with it, like that sounds just like me, you know?
Right.
And the first part of like mental health awareness is just understanding like your situation and how it relates to others, and just coming to a conclusion like, okay, maybe I do have something here, you know?
What about anxiety?
Anxiety, I've always struggled.
You've always had that.
With that, and I kind of know the symptoms of that. Like I get tics. If you're not aware, anxiety can actually produce tics. Like when I first was diagnosed with anxiety, I thought it was Tourette's in some way because I was getting like these breathing, like chest tics. I was getting this like thing with my chin, my eyes. I like focused and unfocused my eyes like purposely, just like. I have no idea why I did that stuff. And then when I talk to somebody, an expert, and they're like, that's anxiety. That's not Tourette's.
And then it's a physiological reaction. So your anxiety maybe started situationally, but then it led you to this physiological reaction to the anxiety where you're like, your body is like doing this because it can't balance. It can't come down.
I do have like a chemical imbalance. That's an obvious thing. But then when you stack situational anxiety right on top of that just like
throws it over the edge.
It's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Is your anxiety situational, or do you think it happens even when you can't like find the reason for it? Or do you always know why you're anxious, or is it just kind of there?
It's always there. I've throughout the years. So when I first got diagnosed with it, like the first thing they suggested to me is, be just more aware and be like, what's the word? Mindfulness.
Meditative. Mindful.
Yeah, they were giving me pamphlets for mindfulness. And I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, I cannot do anything with this. You're telling me to get over it, is what you're saying.
Basically, relax.
Yeah. Now
you're anxious, just don't feel that.
Yeah. Easy. Like, what's wrong with you? But in my state of like now, like after everything I've been through, I totally get it. Like that is something you can actually control. Like it's absolutely a thing. I thought it was hocus pocus before, but now I can understand it. But
as a component, though, that's not the only answer.
No, I mean, drugs are an amazing tool that you should use. Like if you have a chemical imbalance, you can't just get over that and be mindful of it. If you have a serotonin imbalance, like you're just gonna have that, you know. And the only way to get over that is actually taking, SSRIs or antidepressants or something.
Or just dealing with it or living with it.
Or living with it, which, I mean, if
it's not always preferable,
if you're strong enough to do that, I mean, more power to you, but
some people aren't. Yeah. We've talked about that before, that like anxiety, there's so many different levels of it, and depression too, that like, and some people are able to get out of it on their own with, practices in their life or whatever, but then others need medication to give them that extra boost.
And you should never feel bad about that. There's definitely a stigma around, or there used to be. I think it's a lot more open.
Accepted now,
yeah. But there was a stigma around like, you take like antidepressants and, but it's a tool. Like everyone has something.
Well, and to me, it's not any different than taking, or having coffee in the morning. What?
Yeah. I was going to say, I said heart medication or
Or
something.
heart medication.
Or vitamins.
Or insulin or vitamins.
Yeah. Right.
Like you're trying to alter your chemistry to be more balanced.
Yeah,
so,
none of us have a perfect balance of chemicals.
Right, and recognizing it is important. So
yeah, so that's, I think that's the most important thing, is just like being self-aware and knowing that, okay, I'm going through something, obviously. This is not the normal me. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, so then... I actually did it to myself this time, though.
Oh, congratulations. Welcome to the club.
So that led you to reach out to us when we were talking, and you're saying, I'm just not in a good place. I'm not used to this, unemployed. You're not unemployed because you had plenty to do, but this lack of structure and steadiness. So where are you at now with it all, and how have you been dealing with that? Because that was a few months ago, or maybe a month,
not too long
month ago. Yeah.
Yeah, not even.
In my life,
a couple
it's
weeks, I think.
several months because a lot happens in my life.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, that's the other thing. Like things just stack on you, like extra stimuli that just you didn't plan for. You know what I mean?
Like the surgeries and that kind of thing. Yeah.
I mean, I was just talking to Katie about like life is just like you're building the plane as you're flying it. Like you're just like everyone is literally trying to figure out their life as they're living it. Like that's the most impossible thing to do.
That's really interesting analogy.
Yeah,
you're
I didn't
building
make
the
it,
plane.
but I definitely heard it before, and it speak to me. So
Yeah.
So not much has changed since we talked a few weeks ago about this, or
No.
have you given up some of your other projects, your impulse productions?
I consolidated a lot of
project?
my attention to just one thing.
Okay.
And definitely, like, I knew what I had to do. It's just getting there, like accepting the change and telling people like I gotta readjust my life here. I can't do stuff for you anymore. That was the hard part, but I knew that like I was breaking down during the week. Yeah, I was.
In what way?
I was just like just spontaneously just bawling my eyes out. Yeah.
I love that. Meaning, I love that he shared that, and that happens, and that's important. That changes your chemistry when you cry.
And then as it was happening, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, why is this happening? This is not normal me. Like, this doesn't happen. I thought there was like a gas leak in my house. I thought like that's how like out of nowhere it was. Yeah.
So that's how off balance you were, because your chemistry was trying to do anything to get you back balanced.
I was missing something, or I had too much of something. Something was going on.
But it does. It changes your chemistry when you cry.
I mean, thankfully, having a support network helps a lot. Like having good people surrounding you and talking through the issues and just understanding that you feel sad in that moment, and it's okay to feel sad.
And it's okay, and not like, oh,
yeah, like honor it.
Come on, Travis, you don't have it that bad. Yeah. You got a nice house, you got this, you got that. Think about all the people over there, blah blah. When they do that, you just feel worse.
I mean, it's like I get that, but I'm not denying something is wrong. Like I wouldn't just start like crying out of nowhere if something wasn't wrong. So having that self-awareness of knowing like, okay, something's got to change, and then you can kind of work your like the end result, which is you freaking out, and then you got to work your way backwards of what the cause is. And I think it was just being stretched too thin.
Are you considering getting another full-time job at this point?
I'm
just
trying.
To have that? You are? Okay.
I've been trying. It's a weird job market out there. So if anyone's going through the same thing, you're not the only one. I think a lot of companies are. So I don't know if this is like how true this is, but it sounds pretty spot on. So there's a lot of companies that are. There's a contingency in like. These like loans that people are getting for like COVID loans and PPP loans and stuff, where as long as they're searching for active candidates, they're putting job postings out there, they still get the loan. I feel like a lot of them are putting the job postings out there and not actually hiring.
Is that why there's help wanted everywhere you go?
Well, there's jobs like restaurants that actually need help because people aren't going back to restaurants and stuff.
Yep.
But I mean, more of like a salaried 9 to 5. I think I could totally see that happening.
Yeah,
because there is a lot of job postings out there right now, but I haven't been.
I've gotten zero
looking.
callbacks, and I've done it a couple dozen times. I've never had an issue where I didn't get a callback from a single.
At least once. Yeah.
Like
I feel like you would. I mean, you're talented enough, and you probably present yourself well enough on your resume and stuff that it would actually come to something. So there might be some validity to that.
Yeah. So I feel like if you're not getting callbacks and you're just having like it's just a weird job, it's because it's weird. It's just like that. Like I've never had this issue before.
It's different post-pandemic. We talked about that on the podcast. Remember when you were just weighing in a little bit?
Yeah.
Like what's going to stay, what's going to change, what's going to go back to normal. And it's different now, like with the restaurant thing. Like it's
Restaurants
having
and retail is also another one, yeah.
McDonald's, Burger King, they're all looking for people. I mean, are they?
Because people are getting paid more on unemployment that they don't want to go back to it.
Yeah.
So they're working it from both sides. Like the people unemployed.
Employers and employees are also like, okay, we're going to spend this in our favor.
There's free money out there, so we're going to do the bare minimum to get the free money. That's basically what it is, which I get it, but it's definitely a weird time period right now where it's definitely with the job market. It's
nothing that anyone's ever had, I think, in this lifetime.
It's nobody's fault. It's just
you're right.
The system's set up that way to, benefit people that just do the bare minimum, which maybe there's something to be said there. Maybe the system needs to be readjusted to actually look at the core issues and
yeah,
but
but that's huge. But you gotta start somewhere.
Yep.
So, Travis, what is your ultimate goal?
Travis,
I feel like I'm being the aunt again, but
she crossed her hands and
I know,
everything.
I did.
Yeah, I felt like I was in trouble or something.
Yes,
I felt that too, and she wasn't even looking at me. So,
so Travis.
Tell me your intentions.
What are your
future.
intentions here? Yeah. Seriously, what is your goal ultimately, your dream for Impulse Productions, you and your brother Shane? Is this something you would like to do full time at some point?
Yeah.
Or is it just a nice side, business, or, are you happy with the growth that it's had? Where are you at on that? And there's no wrong answer. I'll employ you no matter what, because they're fantastic. So
I think it's an awesome opportunity to have a business with a family member that you get along with. And there's we share a bank account, it's like a marriage, which is that's how it is. It's always described as when you go into a business with a partner, it's you're it's like a marriage,
Yeah.
You're setting up we pull from the same bank account. We
trust
make
each other.
make
trust as
decisions
much as a
together
marriage,
and stuff. So
so you plan to just keep working it, but still want to have a steady paycheck in the meantime? Is that what's better for you?
At this point, after 10 years of dealing with shitty employers and just empty promises and just doing things for other people to make their lives better, I'm not in a position where I want to be locked down to being indentured servant all the time and always I like the flexibility, the work-life balance. I want to be able to actually see substantial change in the businesses that I touch,
Okay.
And I think the quality is more important than just getting that paycheck.
So the jobs you're applying to, though, then are they full time or?
I've been trying to be picky about it, but
just
also
kind of seeing what's out there and.
Yeah, I've been avoiding a lot of agencies because, again, that's taking up. That's taking on a few different jobs, because the thing about agencies, it's you might be working in with a retail client at one point, and then you got to put your freelance or your other hat on for healthcare. It's you can't perfect any of those if you're doing all of them at once. You got to focus on one thing and be okay, I know how to sell your product or your service.
I write about room dividers at my job, and that took a while for me to learn how to get into the flow of it, because I'm this is a topic that I've never even thought twice about before.
But you're probably pretty satisfied at
at this point now, because I'm I understand the process of it, and it's familiar enough, but it's also creative enough that I can get a little bit of both and everything. But I could see that as an agency perspective, that would be hard to just be oh, I'm going to talk about this and then this, but then never quite be master any of them.
That's the problem. Yep.
I feel that'd be really tough.
Yeah.
Are you laughing at the room dividers?
Yeah, because
there's nothing wrong with that, though.
No,
it's
no.
The world needs room dividers.
They sell well in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They do, and they even sell plexiglass, right?
Yeah, well, that's why they did
did
very,
so well.
very well last year.
But what's funny about Katie is that she's so not into decorating anything. She doesn't even notice room dividers if she's not at work. Meaning to walk into a place, I don't think you would be oh, I like that room divider, or I like that.
Well, it's
I think
funny.
you would.
It's the okay. So this is a side note, but at Maddie's wedding that you guys were the photographers for, there was a room divider in the basement, and it took me like 20 minutes to realize that it was one of the company that I work for.
Yeah.
I was like,
it just doesn't matter
Yeah,
to
you're
her
like, oh,
usually.
I recognize those.
I didn't even like pay attention to it until 20 minutes. I'm like, oh, wait a second.
Like-
yeah, and then she said the SKU number and everything. She was like an expert.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, the tackable fabric is great.
Oh, this is so good. It's like The Office
don't
with
even-
the paper company is like just being passionate
Wow,
about.
that's our paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is two-ply. Saying all the specific details
But
of it.
in
Yeah,
general,
it
though,
was just-
you're not like, oh, this wall needs a picture of this size kind of thing.
No.
This room needs a room divider. Like, that was never you before.
No.
But you purely just learned it for the job, but you've done a good job at learning it.
Yeah.
And now you know how to do it and make
but
it creative.
after time, but that's kind of his point though. Like he was saying that like ads and everything, you have to do, or advertising agencies, you have to like jump. You can't really learn the product that you're talking about if it's not your own, or if you're not like working with it full time or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
So, like, if you're trying to jump in as a consultant, you
Yeah.
have to learn right away what that product
Well,
is
when you're
or
advertising,
service.
you have to know the value points of the thing you're trying to sell. You have to know why people would want it, and you have to explain that in the advertisements that you're creating. And like, you can't do that when you have like, 13 different
Yeah.
companies that you're doing that for. It's just like
There's no time to really learn
no,
about the
and
company.
there's always fires that have to be put out. So like I was getting to the point where like I can't focus. Like I'm doing all these things. I feel like I'm doing a lot, and I'm doing nothing at all. So
So, I was looking for my cat.
now he's over there.
Okay, so he's still cool, though.
He's still cool.
So, I mean, excuse me, I just burped on the air there.
These are weak.
I think you could do better.
Yeah.
Slam that back, then
Pterodactyl.
try it. Get some fizz in there. It's carbonation.
I'm surprised I'm not burping off of this.
But you are drunk, though, you said.
Or no, tipsy.
I'm not drunk. I'm just a little buzzed. Feeling good.
As your eyes are starting to get bloodshot.
Damn, come on, just one fucking beer. What's the matter with you? From
10
Wisconsin.
fucking percent.
So I drink a bottle and a
took-
half of wine.
You're lucky
that's
I'm not
13.
sleeping yet.
He took one sip and was like, wow, I feel a little tipsy.
Yeah, and it was only like this much.
Aren't you from Wisconsin?
Yes, but I don't drink a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, we do. I'm kind of the same way. I just don't do well to the Wisconsin name. I don't live it up.
I do, and I live in Illinois.
At the
know.
beginning of the pandemic, I was like, all right, I'm gonna try drinking more and see what happens. And
I'm just going to try this out. New
yeah,
hobby.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Everyone's doing it, and then at some
I
point, I'm
did-
like, this is boring. I'm just getting tired. Like at 3:00 in the afternoon, and I just can't do it.
I did drink a lot during the pandemic.
I think
Really?
a lot
In the
of people
beginning.
did, yeah.
In the beginning, because it was the first time I think that I self-medicated with alcohol because I was so anxious.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was that first week when everything shut down scared the crap out of me.
Wow.
Like,
It was
so
trendy.
I was-
like you saw it all over social media. It's like,
Everyone
oh, I'm
was
having a drink
drinking.
now.
But it actually just was the only thing that made me feel calmer. It was the first time. Yeah,
Wow.
that I had to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, went through a lot of wine.
Yeah, I just drank the same amount, but I was anxious too, because it was weird. I mean, I hate talking about that.
Yeah, we're moving forward, it seems like, I think.
So where are
But-
you at now, Travis, in terms of, are you hopeful for your future? Are you feeling calmer? Are you less?
You feeling tipsy?
Especially
I mean,
now.
The other thing is like when I'm anxious and I have all this shit on my mind, I don't, indulge in
Don't
things.
do that. That
Yeah,
makes
'cause
it
I
worse.
feel like I
Yeah.
have to be ready for the next piece of bullshit I got to deal with, So,
Okay.
but I'm definitely like, I brought myself down to a level where like I know I can handle things, even if like I'm kind of like adjusting my attention capital a little bit so that there's a little bit room to play, so that if something does come up, like I can handle it without having.
Yeah, you're more balanced, it
Yeah.
sounds like,
Yeah,
with your time.
absolutely. Yep. And I'm scheduling my time. Another thing with like ADHD, which like the funny thing about TikTok, that thing is
It
like your
fuels ADHD.
Not even that. It knows when you're feeling bad. The weirdest shit. So when I was
Stop scrolling. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I got to a point where like I was on the mental health side of TikTok, and it was and I was getting videos where people are like, everything's gonna be okay. Like I was like, what is going on? Like the digital world is like speaking to me like at the moment that I need it. It was the craziest shit. I was getting.
Is that a real thing?
Yes.
Like
it's super intuitive, like based on your likes.
Not even that. I think they base it on how long you actually sit on videos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like
I've seen the stop scrolling video a lot.
There's so many.
You've been scrolling for way too long. Thanks, TikTok guy. Swipe up, keep scrolling.
Actually, I started listening to those. I'm like
the full thing?
All right, I'm going to put it to bed. I'm going to put it away. I actually listen. Every time those popped up, I was like, yep, I'll listen.
In theory, we all should. They're actually trying to look out for you, but it's like... it's weird.
It's the weirdest thing that
different world.
I was getting fed content that was like trying to console me about like the stuff I was going through is all about like mental health, and I started getting tips and tricks about ADHD. I'm like, how does it know this stuff?
It's because of you said scrolling and also how long you stay.
I think they track every data point, like anything you can interact.
Things you like, things that videos that you're watching that you don't interact with. Like it's very intuitive. There's a lot of comments on TikTok on a lot of videos that are like, wow, the formula or the what is it called? Algorithm is really specific. Like it really just hits people very specifically, like just on their on their page.
Who's in charge of TikTok? Like Facebook, for instance,
like I don't know exactly. I think it's like a Chinese company.
It was sold from the Chinese company. It's now American based, but I don't remember the.
Yeah, I don't know the details of it, but if that's how social media is, like, one, I just accept social media for what it is. I indulge in the content. I don't like try to like. I'm never gonna do that, like, because you're kind of like excluding yourself from the rest of society, and it's kind of nice to have that connection with people. So you take it for what it is, but if social media is gonna be like hyper targeted like that, I think I'm okay with that because it helped me. Like
it helped you.
It was giving me things that I needed to hear at the moment. I'm like,
the
this
world
is really
took
nice.
care of you.
Yeah. And it was content that somebody else made in the world that spoke to me specifically, and I was like, this is wonderful. Like we need this. We don't need social media that feeds you like what that platform wants you to hear.
That's actually positive social media, right? We're all in it together. I know that was all a pandemic thing, but meaning, we're all human and we can share and learn versus tear each other down on social media.
Right.
So,
but speaking about that, I got like really good tips and tricks on how to manage time better in tasks. And I saw this good one about like, instead of focusing on task-based project management, focus on time-based. So set a timer, get as much as you can done in that amount of time, and you'll feel a lot more satisfied about what you've accomplished versus task, because there's always going to be more tasks lined up.
And some tasks take way too.
I've seen that too before, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, that's actually makes a lot of sense. Like, why didn't I come up with that myself? Like it seems like it's so simple, but like when you have like when you have it task based and you complete a task, it's like, okay, I got to do this next one because it's important, and you just fall into the rut of always trying to catch up with all the things you got to complete. When you set a time limit, it's like, okay, and that's what I've been doing in my during my day, is just like, okay, I'm going to do this much during this amount of time, and then the rest of the time is stress-free, anxiety-free. Don't think about any other thing other than what you want to do.
Okay. I like that because I'm so overwhelmed with Acorn Lane, getting rid of all that stuff, and I just don't have time to do the whole task. But maybe if I said, okay, I'm going to go over there for an hour and spend 1 hour start to finish, doesn't matter how far I get, but I'm going to do it for an hour.
Focus on that for just that hour, and then at the end of it, I think you'll be happy with the results you got. Okay. And if anything, you'll do something. I mean, and that's enough.
It'll go forward, so ultimately it'll get done. But instead, I'm like you guys when you say you're so overwhelmed, I do nothing. Like I took all the stuff when we moved out of Grandpa's place and just dumped it at Acorn Lane, and it's still there. Like the laundry basket, just with his clothes all tangled up, it hasn't moved, and that's over 2 months now. And I just can't. It's like overwhelming to me because it's too much to do.
And
so you do
it
nothing.
Feels it'll never get done because that's a big task.
Yeah, but I think I like that time-based thing. Like, okay, book in an hour, set your timer, and also when the hour's done, stop.
Yep.
Because otherwise,
That's where I always got caught up on it. It was like, okay, I can do this for an hour, but then sometimes I forget the whole stopping thing, and then I get overwhelmed, and then I don't do it again.
Exactly.
Like the repeating of it. So it makes it more consistent over time if you actually do stop and then resume the next day or next hour or whatever, you know.
And then at some point, like the final time you set your timer, and you're gonna be like, there's really not much left to do in this.
Right.
And you done it. You finished what you need to do.
You done it.
Yeah. You're perfect. That's exactly what you need to get done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that because Acorn Lane is really bugging me. Okay, this brings the conversation. Where'd that cat go?
He's under your chair.
Oh, full circle, because I've been spending a lot of time, as well as Katie, over at Acorn Lane, which is my dad's house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where all the abuse happened and all the shit happened. And it's weird being there alone with a cat. And you have time to process things. And I just realized I am so ready to be done with this place. You know, I don't want to have this in my world anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yet I got all this stuff that I have to do to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot in between that, you know.
Yeah, but
I felt the same way when going over there. Like you're just sitting there and with a house that used to be full of people and life, good and bad, you know, like
it feels like a tomb.
It feels like a tomb when it's all of a sudden empty, which...
Do you also feel that, like, I could be doing more productive or better things with my time other than dealing with this right now?
Yes. Thank you for saying that, because, it's such a time sinkhole.
Yeah, it feels like it's a diversion from what you actually want to get done. The thing I do to deal with that, though, is just see it as an interesting like thing in your life that you just have to observe and experience, you know?
Okay.
So it's hard to do, but like, for example, like there was a time where my sister got stranded. She ran out of gas, like not too far from my house.
That sounds like you, Mary.
Yeah, and when you call for help from somebody, most of the time you feel like it's an inconvenience.
And you're like, oh man, I was doing this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
But when I get that call, I just step back and be like, okay, this is like something interesting I can do that's not like what I normally do, which is like play video games or, you know, hang out with friends or whatever. I'm gonna go do this and just experience it for what it is. Maybe something else interesting will happen. You just like, you got to kind of think of it that way and try to make it interesting if you can, you know?
Like accepting change, like you say, you know,
yeah,
like meaning, okay, now I got to do this. So it's
just
not what I
something
planned.
You got to experience. It's life happening right in front of your eyes. You just don't realize it. You think it's just like, this is a diversion from my actual life I want to live, but maybe something good will come out of it, you know? So.
Well,
I like that.
That was really good. Yeah.
That was some deep shit
Man.
you said.
The thing is, like, a lot of people go through this and they don't step back and think, why am I feeling the way I am, you know?
So this guy is 29. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Both of you guys are very intuitive for 29.
Oh, thanks.
You know why I think that is, though? I think suffering in your life is a very important transition to self-awareness and learning who you are. Yes.
I think suffering is really important. I mean, it's obviously awful because you're suffering, but then there's the other side of it. Once you get past the suffering and everything, you do learn to be stronger or better or whatever.
Your brain literally rewires. There's something with your ego that's dropped off, and you just like learn the right perspective on life and what actually matters.
If you're willing to face it and not run from it and work on it,
sometimes
right?
it takes a couple tries with some people, you know? Like
right. And there's people that just, they become actually worse people because they run from it. They don't try to understand it and maybe even share with others, you know, overcome it and then like pass it on, which is what we're doing here on this podcast. So just saying, as the aunt, I'm proud of you two 29-year-olds.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Look at them in their matching t-shirts.
I know, we're the No More Secrets twins today.
They're nice shirts, though. I like these.
He likes the shirt. I like it too. I just don't think I look good in it.
You look
good.
in it. You're literally on it.
This is literally of you.
Yeah.
Obviously.
All right. Are we good to wrap up, do you think?
Yeah.
You guys, now after this episode, we are starting to rearrange our room and get that whole new look. And we're going to offer the recording that you talked about tonight
on Patreon.
For the Patreon subscribers. Thank you to
if you
all
guys
of
want to
you
hear
guys.
some crazy yelling, yeah, I think you.
Oh my God, it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's some
definition
juicy
of
stuff.
batshit crazy for sure. That's that, and this is someone that has not suffered in their life. They've always been in the money and just like wealthy. So you're gonna see someone that just doesn't know what it means to live. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Maybe, didn't have the same kind of suffering. Ugh. It's really hard. I just want to go back to batshit crazy, though. I was trying to be appropriate, but then I'm like, no, I got to say this. Do you know where that saying comes from, batshit crazy? Okay, so back in, I don't know, earlier times, a lot of bats were flying around churches, and then the churches would start ringing the bells, and the bats would go crazy and shit on everything.
That's where that came from?
That's where it came from.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I researched
Creates
that.
a whole new perspective.
It was really, bat shit and crazy all at the same time.
And then there was that one witty ass son of a bitch. I was like, this is batshit crazy. Yeah, and just made into a
thing, and nobody
Idiom
really.
or something,
and where
yeah.
did it come from? No, there really
God.
were bats that were shitting and were crazy because of church bells. That's even funnier.
Gosh,
I never knew that.
I love finding out where like those things come from. I think they're
it's
so
never
interesting.
what you expect.
Yeah, that's usually more literal than it actually seems it's going
Yeah.
to be. Like I
Right.
didn't actually expect
It's like
it.
bats and shit and crazy.
Yeah,
I thought it'd be something like something in the bat's shit that made people crazy, but it's not even that.
No,
Wow.
the bats were crazy because of church bells.
Oh.
That's what's funny.
it's very Game of Thrones like.
Yeah.
I think, right? You've seen that, right?
I've seen it.
Like the
unfortunately.
last season or so. I mean, it was a terrible ending, but it reminds me of it. So, but anyways,
Totally lost.
okay.
I'm gonna get my Herbie cat back to his house. He's gonna be happy.
I mean, he seems
Yeah.
like he's chilling. He seems pretty.
He's
happy.
pretty relaxed right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, he's a really cool cat. Okay.
Oh, and I'm gonna look directly at the camera. Support these guys. These guys do a lot.
Oh my gosh.
And it's all for just the fun of doing it.
And to help others.
Yeah, and I think it's a great way to, I mean, no more secrets. You're opening up, you're talking about things that most people are uncomfortable talking about, and I think it's a really good platform to get out there. So if you have an interesting story and you want to be a guest, definitely reach out and keep listening, because there might be something that speaks to you and might help you in your life or somebody else in your life, and that's what this is all about. And they're doing a great job at it, and I think it's worth supporting at least that, so they do a great job.
Shucks.
He's talking about us.
I don't.
Yeah, and I'm talking directly to them because they need to know.
I appreciate it, and that it is our passion, and you guys are doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, we love having you guys around. You create a good energy. You help us out a lot.
Well, like the whole like ripping your attention to things that like you don't like. This is what I'm going to spend my time caring about. So that's, I mean,
And
I want it to be quality.
And I love that. And I'm totally fine. Like, I still just believe that this is right. It just feels right, because I even got another guest yesterday that wants to come on next season.
Cool.
And I just feel like we just need to keep with it and show that we're serious, that you don't just drop off after a couple of years, and be like, oh, it just, no, we do it because it matters. It doesn't matter about the numbers and all that. However many people we can help, that's what we want to do.
And how many people that listened to that episode, that's how many people you helped,
Probably.
possibly. And I think that's worth it. So,
Yeah.
And it just takes time.
It takes time, yeah, but we're not going anywhere, people. In fact, we're going to have a whole new look next time you see us. I'm going to be taller.
That's the only thing that's changing. You're just going to be taller.
She's going to be taller.
In your chair.
She's going to sit up straight with a pillow underneath her.
Different.
Probably more cats too, or something.
Oh, I would love that.
I can bring Lando. We can supply more cats. if
We have
need more
lots of cats, yeah.
We
Bring a
have them
dog.
accessible.
I got a wiener dog I can bring.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so fun.
That would be fun.
There's a dog at the plant store next door. We
Really?
can maybe bring over too.
Maybe we could have them on the podcast. Well,
I'll work on it.
I don't think the wiener dog matters, but I don't know about their plants.
I mean, plants have rights too. Very.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we can wrap it up, and
Yeah.
we'll put the stuff on Patreon, and we will see you guys after our
break.
So
Thank you, Travis.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes, thanks for coming back on.
Yeah.
And thank you, Herbie.
He's gone.
Thank you, Travis. You're in the room. All right. Till next time, I'm stopping.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So long.
Farewell.
Goodbye.
I've been to San Diego.